Mike, can you hear me? So I talked to Josh this morning, and
Yeah.
evidently he's asked that I do the testifying at the hearing this morning.
Yeah,
So,
Victoria reached out to me and she's getting you signed up
okay.
right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No, thank you. And then I think commissioners, I don't know if you saw my email about um signing in as other and
Yeah,
only
I
because
did. Yeah,
okay, only because you're not in the program now, she's signing you up. The proponents are good with the changes. I talked to them and also ran into the chair yesterday, and I think it's her bill, so I think we're okay.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And this bill is predominantly just dealing with 114, not 89.
Right, we need to be injected into it
Yeah,
and just say basically your testimony is we're other because we do this, but we do it in a different statute. It's literally just, hey, us too. We really like this. We had another bill that did something similar in terms of supporting public safety. We
yeah.
just want to be included.
Okay.
You got it.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not wearing my hospital gown. Is that going to be okay, or do I de-emphasize some of the importance of what I'm saying?
I will leave that up to you.
Okay, Mike, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna try this again. We'll get started. So welcome everyone. We had some technical glitches. It is January 27th, 2026. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. Commissioner French is on Zoom. The others are on the conference room. And so we are gonna just go right into it. So Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just always kind of set where we're at in session when we talk. Today is day 16 of 60. We're approaching the next, uh, the first real cutoff of the session is February 4th. That's Wednesday. That's the policy committee cutoff. So a lot of committee hearings right now, a lot of executive session, not so much on the floor action. That will transition to that starting on, it looks like February 10th. But right now, just committee action. Want to update you on a number of bills that we've already talked about, and then maybe I can go back to that new bill at the end and the public defense bills. But I think I'll just run through the list real quick and update you. 2201 was that urban growth area bill with the development regulations. It has not moved. That's a good thing based on your position on that. The Aquifer Recharge Bill 2358 jumped down to 6016. That's the bill that's actually moving. It has moved from committee as it should. So that would probably indicate to me that the House bill won't move, but the Senate one will be the vehicle that'll continue, hopefully, as session moves on. 2416, the waste to energy bill. Nothing has been scheduled on this, excuse me, in terms of committee action or a committee vote, but I do know that discussions are ongoing. I had a conversation with a pretty key legislator last week about this bill, and the message back to me was really interesting issue, but trying to figure something out. And that is a legislator that makes decisions on issues in that area. So, wait and see what comes of that. But there is an urgency, or at least an acknowledgement that they want to get something done on that. I already mentioned 6016. 6026, that's that residential development zones bill. And then there's the House companion 2480 is being heard today the 28th, no, excuse me, being heard tomorrow. There's exec tomorrow on 6026, and that's the bill that you all expressed some concerns about. It's all fine if you want to build housing and residential in these areas, but is the infrastructure there? Are the services there? And the Association of Counties has testified to that and will testify again, presenting some of those concerns that you had. So I've coordinated with their folks on that. So we'll have to continue monitoring those. And then, as I mentioned, there's 6092 is the Senate version of waste to energy. It has not had a hearing, so that indicates to me that the House bill is the one that will move. One other bill that I need to get on this list, I meant to add it after last week's call, but I didn't, is 2451. That's the tax increments financing bill that I talked about last week that does principally what the bill we had does or did in terms of adding public safety, but it omitted the statute that you all use. I always get my numbers mixed up, but anyway, it omitted that. But I think Commissioner French is going to testify here on the bill at 10:30 and ask for the inclusion of the TIF statute Spokane County uses into 2451. I've talked to the proponents of that bill and had a brief conversation with the committee chair, who happens to be the prime sponsor of the bill as well. And I think we're going to be okay to get included there. Just had to kind of sort some things out. TIF has been kind of controversial over here. And so when we asked to be amended into a bill, just had some homework to do there, but I think we're in good shape. So that hearing starts at 10:30. Um, any questions, commissioners, on all of those bills? Okay.
Any questions in the room?
Okay. And then Commissioner Kearns, you had asked me to talk about the public defense bills that are in play when we spoke last week. Those are listed there kind of above the bill list. I'll just run through them real quickly. 2163 and 5913 are the caseload standards bills, what I would call. Neither of those has been scheduled for a hearing. I don't know that they will move, and it's likely because there's a fiscal impact with these bills, and given the budget situation here, anything that costs money or has budget impacts is going to be difficult. So I'll come back to that. The next one is 1592. That's the Wasatch Priority Public Defense Services Bill, or the Indigent Defense Bill. That's a leftover from last year that the association is still advocating for. There is a Senate version, 5404, but the House version was the one that received hearings last year, and is the one that the focus is on. And then 5912 creates the Indigent Defense Task Force. That bill has moved through its Senate Policy Committee and into rules. But it's a task force bill. In a sense, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's like it's a study bill to do more research into the issue. I know you know that issue. So it's certainly not a solution to it, but maybe a way for the legislature to get more focus on this and come back in later sessions to deal with the issue. Both 2163 and 1592 are going to be caught up in the budget debate. There's talk of the legislature dealing with this issue in what we call the back of the budget, or putting some budget proviso language in that does not put the solution in statute. So it would be allocating resources, appropriating funds, but it has a long way to go, just given, again, the budget situation here. So, Commissioner Kearns, obviously all of you, that's kind of a quick update on the public defense bills, but you had mentioned again that you wanted to hear about those. So just there's the update there. I'll continue to add them to the list, or do you have any specific questions about those?
No, I mean that was a good rundown. I appreciate it. I guess on the first one, I guess I don't really know what the cost to the state is on that. I mean they don't really
think
help pay for it.
Commissioner, what I should have said is that issue's all interrelated, and it ends up with
Okay.
cost implications at stable. So the way I said that was kind of clunky, but I think you
Okay.
understand what I mean now.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, a new bill to bring up. Oh, okay. A new bill to bring up, 2655. This one was pointed out to me, that has Spokane County impacts. When you read the bill, you'll remember we've had several other bills over the years that are, it's a county east of the Cascades with this population base. So it's a bill that deals with Spokane County and some economic development issues. A colleague of mine flagged it for me and asked me to put it on the list. And Commissioner French, I saw you jump off camera. You and I had a brief conversation about this bill. I'd like to kick it to you if I could.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Burgess. This is a recent introduction that has a significant benefit to Spokane County. As many of you are aware, I've been working with a company out of Arizona for the last 2 years to bring the first hydrogen fuel manufacturing facility to the West Plains. And both Commerce and the governor's office and WashDOT are very excited about the project, and we continue to work to push it forward. And we're now very close to getting to the point to where we are starting to permit the project. But one of the things that makes this project unique, and keep in mind that the legislature said that in 2030 you're not going to be able to use diesel fuel anymore. So what is the ag community as well as other fleet services going to be using for a fuel source? And the industry, especially for large vehicles like semi trucks and harvesters and things like that, as well as fleet services, are moving toward hydrogen. In fact, I met with the vice president for waste management, and he said, Al, if you can get me a reliable source of hydrogen, I will convert my entire fleet over to hydrogen because it's a better fuel for us to be able to use. Anyway, the unique thing about this project is that it is a closed loop system. There's absolutely zero waste out of the project. But one of the elements is taking the wastewater out of the Collins Aerospace facility, and when they're finished with their expansion, it'll produce about 74,000 gallons of wastewater a day, and taking that, piping that underneath the freeway and into facilities that will then heat the water, preheat the water, pre-treat the water before it goes into the hydrogen manufacturing facility. And so there is currently a bill that provides a tax incentive for projects like this on the western side of the state, but it only benefits two counties, and no county in eastern Washington has benefited from this. This is a what's called a green energy project, and because of its green elements, and we're going to a hydrogen fuel manufacturing facility. The bill is actually sponsored by Representative Ormsby and partnered by Representative Volt. So it's a bipartisan bill, and the chair, Senator Banky, is in favor of the bill and is one of those that's helping to push it forward. It'll have its first hearing this Friday and stuff, and so what I asked Burgess was to put it on the list so that the county could weigh in favor of the project and support both Representatives Ormsby and Volts in this effort, but also help and support the state's efforts to see this project come to fruition. So that's the nature of the bill. Thank you.
Yes,
This is 26, is that right?
correct.
I was just looking at the title of the bill and it says providing a retail sales and use tax exemption for the construction and equipping of new data centers. So is the project you're talking about a data center or is it a energy facility? I'm just confused with the title.
It's part of the energy project. The data centers do the preheating of the water. One of the challenges with data centers is how do you cool them? And by cooling them with the use of water, it accomplishes two things. One, it uses less energy to provide cooling in the data center, but it takes that captured heat and preheats the water before it goes into the hydrogen manufacturing facility. Without the elements of the data centers, you would end up having to preheat the water, which means you're using energy to heat the water to go into the hydrogen manufacturing process. This bypasses that whole function and does it naturally. So that's one of the things that when we were talking with Commerce about the project, they said, in fact, Joe Wynn, previous secretary, said, Al, your project has accomplished what the state has spent 3 years and $3 million to do, and we're nowhere close to being where you're at. There is absolutely zero waste in this project. Everything is 100% used, and to include, the relationship between the manufacturer and Avista. They've been working on this for better part of a year and a half, and this actually would also include the construction of an electricity manufacturing power plant that would actually send electricity back into the power grid, as opposed to what we've experienced in other areas where data centers are a drain on the power grid. In this situation, I think they're actually building two power plants that will feed electricity back into the electricity grid. And that's been a partnership between the applicant and Avista. And so anyway, that's just one of many elements of this project that make it so attractive, not only from the state, and we've gotten support from the governor's office, Commerce, and WashDOT, but also thanks to Representative Ormsby in taking the leadership role and trying to make sure that Eastern Washington and counties in Eastern Washington get the same benefits for economic development that counties in the western side of the state have.
Commissioner, if I could ask you a question then. So the this bill expands the existing tax break that's in place for West Side.
Yes.
But in this case, it's as much about the infrastructure as it is the data center itself.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
the data center is just a building type that provides a high degree of heat exhaust that can be used to preheat the water to go into the hydrogen manufacturing process and stuff. So that's the benefit of the data centers. It just generates a lot of heat.
So I guess commissioners, at this point, is this something that we want to, as a county, support, and we as Code for You, all want to support, and add it to the list of bills I'm working on?
Sounds like it's a Spokane centric bill and sponsored.
You know, at least we
Republican
get
and
those same
Democrat.
opportunities occurring on the west side, so I don't see why. we wouldn't.
Commissioner
Well,
French, do you
again,
have?
it's a considered a green energy project. This is, if you don't have another fuel to replace diesel by 2030, your trucks aren't going to move. And so semi trucks are now moving to hydrogen. There are transit agencies across the country that have moved to hydrogen and away from electricity. And what the Midwest and the Northeast are experiencing now is a prime reason. There are over 2 million power outages. It's hard to power a bus when you don't have electricity. And so a number of transit agencies have moved to hydrogen, and STA is also working with this company to try and convert part of the STA fleet to hydrogen as well.
So, oh,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna, so I think that the hydrogen part of the project is really interesting. I guess it's gonna create a different energy, source, but then the data centers, don't they just suck a lot of energy? So I guess I'm wondering, what's the connection? I get that you're saying that the data centers might help power, provide heat. But I don't know, I'm just wondering if it kind of just balances itself out. I'm not sure what the data center piece, is it essential to the other part of the project?
It is essential because it affects the economics of it. And again, when it comes to energy, the ones that you need to rely on are the energy companies, and that's Avista. And they've been working with Avista and Apricus on this for the better part of a year and a half to make sure that the impact on the electrical grid is something that can be dealt with comfortably. And they've reached that point. Like I said, the company is going to be building 2 power stations to add electricity back into the grid, so that we're not putting a drain on the rest of the system. And so I rely on Avista and have been working with them closely to make sure that from their standpoint, this is something that they can deal with. And with the addition of the power plants, they said, yes, we're comfortable and we're ready to move forward.
Commissioner French, do you have any kind of like one pager or overview of the project just to share more information out with the board on it?
I certainly can develop that and stuff, but the hearing is this Friday. And so it would seem to me that something that's a bipartisan supported bill, especially led by Representative Ormsby, but something that we would have not any trouble getting behind. But I can certainly provide you a one pager. It's there's so many different elements of this thing to make it a closed loop system that it might be better to just try and do a study session on it and walk you through the project and every detail of it. We're invested in, and one of the partners in this effort is Collins Aerospace. They are now currently discharging 34,000 gallons of wastewater a day. They'll when they finish the expansion of their plant, it'll be up to 74,000. And instead of sending that down to the city's wastewater treatment facility to be treated, they'll be able to pipe it underneath the freeway and use that water to create fuel. It reduces their cost. It gets a double use out of the water. They use water to cool their facilities. Using the water to create a new energy source and we don't have to tap any other sources for water. So, and then The shaft that from wheat is used as raw material in the creation of the hydrogen, and then the hydrogen is then trucked and or railed back out into the farming community so that farming equipment like harvesters and stuff can be run on hydrogen as opposed to trying to run on diesel. Or the alternative is you're either running on CO2 I'm sorry, CNG. And the problem with CNG is that it's not as efficient during cold weather, or you're running on batteries, and there's not a harvester made with a battery big enough to move it. So, you know, I'm just trying to address, the state has adopted an energy policy that says that by 2030 you're not going to be able to use diesel. All right, what are we going to use? Batteries don't power big vehicles. Even this trucking industry will tell you that half of their cargo load will be consumed by the weight of the battery to be able to convert their semis over to electricity. That's why that's not a viable use. This is very much a topic for FEMSIB, which is one of the boards I sit on, is, what's that fuel of the future look like? So anyway, that goes back out into the ag community. The and then
So Commissioner French, I
Yeah.
think, I think it is, just something we probably need to do more of a study session on, but I think it's still worth supporting the bill to get, the rest of it can't happen if we don't have the bill happen. So I think I'm happy to support the bill and then, this is kind of the first time of us all really hearing all the different pieces to this. So I think probably a study session so we understand the whole
Yeah.
project and what you're trying to do.
Commissioners,
I'd be happy to do that. And I appreciate your insight, Madam Chair, in that, without the bill, nothing happens. And so, and we can always work through the rest of the details, but if you can't get out of the starting gate, you got nowhere to go. So I appreciate your insight on that. Thank you.
and commissioners, I'll let you know too, the bill was introduced yesterday. So had I heard about it sooner because again, that caught my attention with the scope being narrowed to Spokane County. I would have brought it to you as soon as I could have, but like I said, it was introduced yesterday.
And I'll
So
just say what Commissioner French is describing sounds very promising. And I'm encouraged by what you say about a Vista and just want to learn more, particularly about the data center.
Are we all?
Okay,
Support?
so I heard that
We're all good to support the bill.
support it, right? Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just said thank you.
Oh, of course. That's all on my list then today, commissioners.
Sure. Or
I was just gonna say that there are still some conversations happening around the 14th judge. And if there could be a bill or if there was a possibility of amending the bill that's out there that has the other counties that are requesting more Superior Court judges. So we're a little bit late to the game. So I think we're just, as I understand it, Senator Riccelli is asking around to the bill sponsors to see what their preference is. And I think the Judges Association still would like us to state more clearly what our funding commitment is. But that's kind of their criteria, but it's not the legislators' criteria of when they decide if they're gonna fund another judge. I know we want to fund this position as soon as we can. We just don't know what our funding looks like in the next year. So I think we should just continue to see about take the temperature of the Law and Justice Committee in the Senate or the current sponsors of the other bill and see if they're interested in us being a part of it or not. So that's kind of where it has ended. And I haven't heard back from Senator Riccelli if he's taken the temperature yet. But it's getting really late to run a bill, and that was his concern. It's much easier just to amend something that's already out there.
Hopefully that he can amend.
Nope. And Commissioner, I will go check in on his temperature when I get a chance today or tomorrow.
No one wants to ruffle any feathers anywhere, and we just, I think it's important if there's a chance this session to get it approved, then when we have the funding, we're able to move forward very quickly instead of waiting around again. So, we will circle back on that. And, the other item, just really quickly, was the, Chair Cooney and I were emailing, we got a draft resolution from WASALFO, the Washington State Public Health Officials Association. And they're really trying to encourage us to push back on cuts to the foundational public health dollars from the state. So there was already a cut last session. The governor's budget proposed more cuts. And there was this vaping tax that was supposed to be funding public health, and there was a problem with collecting, or some sort of administrative problem with how much tax was going to be collected. And so there are a lot of shortfalls. And so I'm working with the health district about a resolution. So we could also pass a resolution here, because it could be up to a $2 million cut to the health district. If all the current proposals were to move forward. So Matt, you have a draft resolution that we could be working on. Maybe we could get it out and then consider it next Tuesday. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if that's too late, Mike, or not, but yeah, we definitely.
No, that's
more of a burden on the counties as the state starts to reduce their.
No, you're timely. It's budget, so budget discussions are happening. The budget teams are already meeting. But your letter would be, or your resolution or letter, your communication would be timely. I wouldn't wait much past next week, though.
Yeah, it came in yesterday, but we have not had a moment to look at it or get the data from the health district, and they're working on that right now, so.
Quick update, we put in the paperwork for the capital for $750,000 for the Crisis Relief Silvering Center, 2.9 million for the Bellevue Water District issue. You're aware of up on the 5 Mile area. We did not put in the Nova Hilliard project this year. Talking with Jesse at the Northeast PDA, he said 27 would make more sense. They have some other financing issues that are causing delays. We did not put that one in. Those are the only ones that I've put in from a total board perspective. Tonight at midnight is the deadline for capital projects. So if there's anything else people are looking for, we need to get on it today.
On that, Commissioner Wall, both over in Olympia last week and talked about particularly the path request with everybody, and generally got really positive feedback. And one legislator said, "Oh, I'm glad it's under $1 million request." So I just wanted to share that there was a lot of interest in that. Nobody seemed to be there. We were thanking them also for the $3 million last year, talking about the upcoming groundbreaking. So didn't get pushback as to why are you here asking for more. Particularly, one thing that seemed to help is just any dollar that we can get help with on the capital side helps on the operational side as well. So seemed to be a very positive reception for that.
One more before we let Mr. Burgess go. We got a request from Dan Gadd about Senate Bill 6239, mandatory arbitration for tort claims. The bill essentially reduces litigation costs and delays, particularly with some of our SAM cases. Requires all tort claims against the state and subdivisions, that would be us, to include civil arbitration, and also increases the dollar amount for arbitration prior to any kind of trial. So there was quite a request if we wanted to support the bill. It looks like it's supported by WASAC and the Washington County's risk pool as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a hearing right now, and it's scheduled for his exec too. So Just looking at the sponsor, it's the committee chair is the sponsor of it. So just kind of lay of the land stuff for you commissioners.
I think we should.
Okay. All right, I will add.
While the
Add that.
sheriff's in the room, is there anything around the helicopter rescue kind of support
Yes.
requests? Any new updates on that?
As far as I'm aware, I think the only amendments that are getting attached to it is the, compliance with Keep Washington Working Act, which we have no issues with. And I think it's
Just dependent on funding.
the Senate committee that let it die in, committee last year, has guaranteed that they will move it forward to get it out, so. And again, it had unanimous support in the House last year, so looks like it'll go through, but to what level of funding they attach to it, that's the unknown.
Thank you.
Okay, unless you have anything else, Mike,
I do not.
thank you
So-
very much. Thanks for all the work over there.
Okay, reach out when you need to. I'll see you next week, if not sooner.
Okay, bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna take us to Chad. Chad, I'm gonna have you move down to the.
Probably don't go down.
Yes.
I was taking notes today. I'm gonna leave here at 15, so I'll let those guys. Speak today.
Makes it, yeah, those seats, that way the people on,
See you.
yeah, they, everyone can see you. Welcome.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us here, an opportunity to share a little bit about the memo of understanding that you circulated and hopefully had a chance to read. This is all about a shared response on our approach to homelessness and how I'm with Hudson Settlement Children's Home. We have commercial properties that I manage, and that's what's got me into this space and working with the others that we've been working on this MOU with, are the sheriff, Sheldon Jackson on the other end. And then I think prosecuting attorney McCollum is also on Zoom right now. He was another one. Attorney Roy Cogan also helped some of the legalities of it. Really, in a nutshell, this MOU, and I'll share a little bit, I'd like the sheriff to chime in, is really, it's a messaging platform for the region to unify and pivot with what the executive order that came out last summer was, and that is the one that's on ending crime and disorder on America's streets. And it's really a shift from a funding of housing first funds over to treatment first funds. And our goal with it was to create a document that the municipalities of Spokane County and Spokane County could acknowledge and say, hey, we support it. Purely a messaging platform without any liabilities or funding tied into it. We've had an opportunity to take this MOU out. At this point in time, we have 5 municipalities that have signed off on it. So Liberty Lake, Millwood, Airway Heights, Deer Park, and I'm missing one other one.
Medical Lake.
Medical Lake. Yep. Okay. So there's 5 that have. We've been talking to the city of Spokane. I believe the sheriff's actually going to be talking to the city of Spokane Valley here later today.
Yeah.
And that is, we've moved it forward. And I will share from my background at Hutton. And the way we treat our children it is a combination of, it's not just a housing model. Housing model will not work on transforming lives. It's blended with a treatment model. And our treatment model is an attachment-based model that we really work hard on building security with these children so that they can find a place in the world where they trust an adult and become with a life-seeking purpose. And that is the key to it. It takes a lot of work. We believe the treatment piece is a big part of it. I work on the Safe and Healthy Task Force with Mike. And I think this is definitely not part of that. but I think it complements the work that we're doing on the Safe and Healthy Task Force. To you to chime in on anything.
Yeah, and my input here is, I don't think I'm going to tell the commissioners anything here today that you don't already know. A lot of this was born from conversations that we as a group have been having over the last couple of years, frankly, about, you know, where is our system to include criminal justice, to include treatment, to include housing? Where are the gaps? Where are we failing? Where do we think, you know, we can make a difference? First of all, I acknowledge when we talk about the homeless issue, it has a tendency to kind of aggregate everybody into one group of people. And we all know that people who are experiencing homelessness, just about as many people as you see experiencing homelessness are the number of different reasons why they might be experiencing homelessness. We tend to take a look at this system-wide, saying, listen, if we go housing first is going to solve the homeless issue for everybody. And there is a certain portion of the homeless population where just finding a safe, warm place to be does work. It will resolve their problem. But there are other portions of our homeless population that are homeless for different reasons, and just providing a place for them to be is not necessarily going to give them the supports they need to become an independent and functioning adult. I'm not telling you guys anything about this. So when we were having conversations as a group, a lot of the things that we were talking about where treatment is necessary, it's for the people who, for whatever reason, significant substance use disorder or severe mental health issue, just simply placing a roof over their head is not going to help them get to a place in life where they can self-sustain or become a functioning member of our community. And so as we were kind of talking about these kinds of issues and what might, you know, from our perspective, be a good approach to resolving some of this, the executive order did come out and talk about treatment first. I've spoken many times publicly about this, that with people experiencing significant substance use disorder and people who are experiencing severe mental health issues, we do have to provide more treatment and focus on treatment to help them get to a point where they can establish themselves in housing when that, you know, because the funding's available, not enough, but if we can get them to a point where they can function, executive function activities like being able to get up, clean a house, you know, make a bed, go to work, make appointments and things like that. Treatment is probably the most critical step in getting them getting them to a place of self-sufficiency. So when the executive order came out, we thought, okay, this really articulates something that we as a group really thought was well articulated. We made the assumption that some people might not like the fact that it was President Trump's signature on the bottom of it. So we decided that, okay, maybe we can put together a document that kind of encompasses the approach we think would be most beneficial to our community, and get organizations within Spokane County, cities, counties, towns, to sign off on and say, yes, we believe that this approach is probably going to be the most effective tool, or the most effective collection of tools to help make a positive impact on our community. And so, you know, that spurred on a lot more conversations. It spurred a lot of other contacts with people within the system. And the MOU is the resultant of that. I think it's important. And if you guys disagree with me, let me know. It was never our intent to financially obligate anybody signing on to the MOU. The intent was never to put any organization or any entity in conflict with any current funding. In fact, the idea was that it might help Spokane County stand out as saying, we agree with the way these HUD dollars might be delivered in the future. And we agree with that plan. So it might make federal funding more available to us in the future. Since this was drafted and since we've had some signatures, I know there have been some changes as far as where HUD's trying to come with this money. I know there's lawsuits, our state being one that is engaged in the lawsuit. The intent of this is not to put us in conflict with any of that. And was not to legally obligate the community, simply a statement to the public that says, we believe this would be the most effective for our community, these types of activities and functions. It doesn't want us to stop providing housing. It doesn't want us to stop funding housing and put everything over into treatment. That's not the point. But we do believe, as a group of citizens and people who are familiar in these circles, that treatment is an important part, and maybe we need to focus a little bit more as a community on that. Talk a lot. I want to be very clear. I am sitting in front of you. I'm not asking for any money. I know. I just want credit. I want credit today. I'm not asking you any money today.
And if I could weigh in a little bit as well, and I don't know if you could all hear me.
We can.
I'm battling an upper respiratory infection right now, and so I'm holed up, isolated in my office. But this is important enough. I wanted to be here for this discussion. As the sheriff said very eloquently, this was not an effort to in any way supplant any municipality's authority. But again, when this executive order came out, I believe it was on July 24th, the federal administration basically signaled moving forward, HUD dollars would be tied to municipalities, to areas that are elevating an accountability first or a treatment first model. And so I get, and I'll speak plainly. I mean, there's a lot of politics on either side of this. When I presented with Chud before Liberty Lake, I believe I told that council then, I don't think this would have been controversial had it been another president that signed this, because the idea of accountability and treatment first is it's a proven method nationwide. And so from a practical perspective as a prosecutor, I know that when we're trying to pull people out of cycles of addiction, I can't take an addict who's been charged with the crime and say, hey, here's $1,000, go be better. That doesn't work. And so we need to actually invest the money into treatment, pulling them out of that addictive cycle, and not just giving them things that feed the addiction, but actually giving them the tools to pull themselves out of it. And that's where the treatment first versus housing first narrative, I think, comes to blows at times. And so these are not mutually exclusive concepts, but from a practical perspective, the treatment first, especially with addicts and mental health, is 100% necessary. From a business decision, we have our federal agencies saying dollars will be tied to what you're elevating. And that's concerning for me, because in looking at this executive order, it also talks about making sure grants are tooled toward areas that are promoting accountability, law enforcement, discouraging open drug use. And those are all the things that our community is screaming for. We don't want the open drug use downtown. We don't want these open vagrancy on our streets. We can all agree on those things. And so as much as there's some partisan, I think, issues and the lawsuits playing out, the MOU, as I see it, is just a really, some might describe it as milquetoast. Some might say it's too much, but I think it's just a good statement from the community to say, hey, regardless of all the other noise going on, we agree accountability, treatment, 100% are good things to support. Whether or not housing comes along with that, it's going to depend on different municipalities and what their tax bases want them to provide. But more than anything, we're hoping to be non-confrontational in our approach on this, but also forward thinking, so that regardless of what's happening elsewhere or in a neighboring county or in a neighboring district, we're able to say, hey, Spokane believes in accountability, in promoting responsibility, law enforcement, and diminishing open drug use, and helping those of us that are the most vulnerable. And so that's what I think largely this MOU does. And the people behind it, you look at Chud and his organization, you look at other individuals that are signing on to it. These are concepts that I think we all universally agree upon. And as the sheriff touched on it, regardless of who signed the signature at the bottom, this is the executive order that we have. And so some people are proud of the fact that it's our president, some people aren't. And what I've asked people to do is put your pitchforks away and find out what we can agree upon. And let's move forward, because delaying and being held hostage by a pending lawsuit or, some political narrative isn't helpful to those in the community who are affected by this. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm not affected. But as your county prosecutor, I promise you are, because whether you see it or not, we spend as a county and as a city, as a region, hundreds of millions of dollars on this issue. And, the question becomes, are we going to continue to throw good money after bad money? Is Housing First working? If not, are there other things to look at? What are we doing? So I think there's a lot of movement in the space and a desire to bring us along to something that works. Being more practical and pragmatic, I think, is the name of the game right now. And so that's largely what went in behind looking at this. A couple local leaders in the community brought this up and asked for my help. We obviously looped in the sheriff and some others, and we've been going around talking about it. So if you have any questions that you think we can answer, I'm happy to answer them if able, or defer to Chad or the sheriff there to answer any questions they might have.
Thank you. Questions or?
Do we have a copy of the MOU? I didn't see it in the
It,
packet.
it was sent to us. It wasn't in the
separately.
packet.
Oh,
Chad emailed all of us 2
okay.
weeks ago or so.
Oh, sorry. I was looking for it in the packet.
He's got a hard copy of it.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm supportive of this. I think this is great. I mean, everything you've said is spot on. I mean, it's right that this MOU does not establish or create any type of formal agreement or obligation, nor does it commit any funds of any party. I mean, you've laid that, I mean, yeah, I personally, what I see in here, I think is quite frankly, pretty much in line with what we've been doing late. I mean, when we look at our regional stabilization center, that's treatment. When we look at this sobering center that we're asking Olympia right now for additional funds to construct, that's treatment. When we look at the Phoenix apartments that we operate, there's a treatment component that's required if somebody is going to stay there. So, I mean, I think this is very much in line with what we're doing as a county. And I think that's a very impressive list already of what you have of other jurisdictions that have signed on. And I think this is a great thing. And yeah, I'll definitely support us signing on. I think we should.
I will say, I think we presented Cheney to the city council this evening. I don't know, do we have Spangle on the calendar yet?
We have not been able to get to Spangle. That's the only jurisdiction we have not been able to get to. We asked Mayor Cooper to help us with that, and I think, it was during the holidays. So it's the only one that's not on the list. Chud and I, just due to the size of Spangle, and we don't want to have any signatures left off, we were thinking about maybe just setting up another sign-up sheet for towns. Because Spangle, I think Spangle is like 250 people or something like that. So we were thinking about maybe a separate sign-up sheet, so it doesn't look like we have one signature missing.
Okay, and I would just reach out to Brenda. Brenda Spangle's in my district.
Oh, it is, okay.
So she might be able to help you connect with the new mayor.
That's the only
Yeah.
problem we have. We do Cheney tonight at 6 o'clock.
Okay. So yeah, if you reach out to Brenda, my assistant, I think she has the number for the new mayor.
Oh, great, great.
Hopefully we can, at least her email, so we can try to get you guys connected.
Thank you.
I had found council member Kate Tellis. She's been really engaging, and so I have another call follow up with her today. So that it's in motion, and Ray Cogan's been in touch with Mike Piccolo, city attorney. So we're working through that. That's the elephant we're in, city of Spokane.
In an ideal world, I mean, I think it'd be a great message if we could say, hey, our whole region signed on, our whole county signed on. But if any municipality doesn't, while that's not ideal, at the end of this, I think what we're hoping for is that any one of these signatories on this sheet of paper could say, hey, as we're scrapping for federal funds, look at us. We're promoting the things that, HUD has put into their agenda items. And here's how. And so what Commissioner Kearns pointed out with the stabilization, with, the sobering center, we're already doing this work, but presently we don't have the ability to step out and, have something that says, hey, we're set apart. Despite any pending litigation anywhere or other pending legislation, these are the values of Spokane, and we want to, move people out. So on the one hand, it's very non-controversial, but it's also it's a statement saying these are things that we value. So from a business perspective, the hope is if it allows us or makes us eligible for additional funding or grants, then why not? I guess is my thought on it. But obviously, as commissioners, you each have to make those decisions. I just want to make sure that you're knowing what each of us and where we were coming from in our participation on this.
So I guess I didn't get this email ahead of time, but I'm looking it over and I do like some of the pieces in here, like one of the areas I think we really have to work on, and hopefully it'll come out of the Safe and Healthy Task Force meetings, is that service integration. Making sure we are connecting people as they come out of treatment to housing, and when they come out of shelters to treatment. So I think that's a huge gap area. So I'm just reading this for the first time, but there's some things in here that I think that we should be working on. I think the phrase housing first has been thrown around a lot, and I think there's ways that people approach it that are just putting people into housing. And actually the housing first model, as I understand it, is much more complex than that. It is literally providing wraparound care, getting people into treatment, connecting them to medical services. I think sometimes we aren't, when housing first isn't done correctly, I think there are challenges and people just kind of cycle through if they don't have that hands-on care. I worry about moving away from the idea of getting people housed as quickly as possible, because the more people are on the street, the more they're interacting with your deputies,
Sometimes, yeah.
with the jail, with the emergency room, and those things are all very costly. So I think there's been a lot of data collected that if you can get people housed as quickly as possible and get them connected to treatment, get them connected to medical care, that we actually save our community a lot more money, and they're more likely to stick with whatever it is that they need to be stable. So I'm not sure if moving away from getting people housed as quickly as possible is really gonna, I guess I'm wondering, how does that jive with the idea of getting people off the street and into, safe spaces? I thought that we wanted to do that as a community.
Well, I think everybody does. I think the order of how that happens is, again, as I said earlier, it's as an individual an issue and how that support is provided as the number of different reasons an individual might be homeless. I know there are some programs here in town where, apartment buildings were purchased, refurbished, and they're taking people with significant substance use disorder, putting them in these areas, and then the drug use continues. It turns that particular apartment building or that apartment into a drug den where you have all the people coming. But that same organization also has apartment buildings where they have social workers on site. People have check-ins regularly. There are rules about being sober and no drug activity in there, and the people succeed in that latter environment far more than they succeed in the former. So at some point they have to be married up. And I think from my perspective is we need to do less of straight up housing with no support systems, as you agree, right? Because they do happen. Those do occur. And if you have somebody who doesn't have a substance use disorder who, you know, is either underemployed or unemployed, but just needs to be able to get ahead of the financial curve, you can put them in housing without the, you know, requisite support, and that works. But the part of the population that we see causing issues in our community, that's not those people. You know, you can be homeless and not be committing any crime, and you can be homeless and not causing any public disorder issues. In fact, I'd say there's probably a significant portion of our homeless population that isn't committing crimes and causing issues. But how do you deal with the part of the homeless population that is causing that kind of public disorder, committing crimes, things like that? Well, you have to introduce accountability into it, and you can't expect them to just move into an apartment or a shelter and succeed there. There has to be some accountability and some treatment to make sure that they're actually changing. And so, and I think the presidential order, and I think this MOU just kind of bring that recognition to the forefront. I mean, nobody here thinks we shouldn't be focusing on housing. That's not the case. But I think the ultimate goal of all the programs we would have is for the people who are physically capable of getting to a point where they can fend for themselves. We need to get as many people there with as many different options as possible. We need to have supports in place to get them there, because treatment does work. Forced treatment works as well. We would love for as many people who will voluntarily take advantage of treatment to take advantage of it. And for the people who won't, because they're in the throes of addiction, we need to have systems in place that we can get them there. Put them at that decision point where they decide, okay, I don't want to be like this anymore. And do they have to have housing when they're in treatment? Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a tough thing to say, well, we're going to let you be sleeping on the streets, but we need you to show up for treatment. That doesn't work. So again, long term, what kind of treatment facilities do we have where we can take somebody who doesn't have a roof over their head, but we can get them with a roof over their head and treatment at the same time?
And ideally to have a facility that you're not visiting crime upon whatever community that facility is in. As an example, and the sheriff can provide far more examples. His deputies live it every day. But I went to a homicide scene several years ago. I believe it was on Christmas Eve, and we were in government housing. I believe it was HUD housing, and we'd had a homicide occur there. And it was housing where individuals had their separate rooms that had separate key codes. And as I was sitting in that house, I couldn't understand what was going on with the walls and the ceiling. So there were pills scattered along the floor. There were sharp containers in every corner. And it took me a minute because I kept looking at, you know, these artwork on the ceiling. And finally, I asked one of the forensics technicians, I said, hey, what's going on up there? And she explained to me, oh, no, that's from clearing needles. So the ceiling was covered in blood spatter. And they were having these massive pill parties, needle sharing parties, and the sharps containers were all full. And that was very eye-opening for me, who's lived and worked in this community, to say, hey, well, I didn't think that you could live here and do that activity in this fashion. And not only did we have that activity, we also had a homicide occur in that home. And the whole idea with embracing this more accountability model, it's not that you're getting away from the housing side of it. I think Commissioner Waldron, what you're talking about is what people usually envision. It's kind of what I thought. If you're providing this housing and those wraparound services, there's accountability that goes with it. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. When you look throughout our community and you hear the stories from the deputies and officers, they're seeing this all the time. So when you talk to a neighborhood and they groan inwardly when they say, oh, wow, this facility is going to go up here, our crime's going to double or triple. Well, we shouldn't be having that. And so what the sheriff's talking about is 100% correct, and that there is a segment of the population that while they have these addictions, they're also committing, you know, crimes and other things of that sort. And so we need to be able to pair the services with consequences as well. It's if you're entrusted with one, you can't also be doing this part of it. And so, you know, and this kind of strikes a little bit of a tension with those narratives, but it's largely what we've been doing already. It's just, I think our terminology is a little bit off. The executive order, I did send out just now. I apologize, that should have been part of this discussion. But the concern that I have is, we can't just rely on hope or, a lawsuit or changing legislation that, if we're going to receive immediacy in funding, from HUD or from the federal government, it'd be really nice to have, a centralized document of some sort that we can point to and say, no, we do embrace those values. Our nomenclature might not be quite the same, but we do embrace those values of accountability, treatment, and promoting, law and order on our streets. I think we all do a really good job of that. I think the sheriff and this board have been very supportive of promoting law and order in this community. And so to the extent that that messaging is not hitting the right places federally, I would like to disabuse them of that if they will.
Thanks for both of your involvement in the task force. Really appreciate that. I'm hopeful where that will lead us, particularly as it relates to the criminal justice system, behavioral health. And I think we all know there's certainly overlap with some of the populations that we're talking about there. On the positive side, I think, there's no question that we've been very supportive of treatment expansion. You mentioned some of the projects we're working on, sobering beds with stars, crisis stabilization, and other things. And then I think countywide, we passed a camping ban to make that clear in the unincorporated area. There have been ordinances passed in the city. I'm certainly hearing very good things about kind of the direction in terms of response in the city. They've got a much more robust outreach program now that Commissioner Waldrop and I had a chance to meet with. It seems that there's more success in kind of getting people who might be chronically on the street directed to better places. So I'm seeing a lot of good happening. We, as it relates to kind of homeless dollars and homeless response specifically, we had many conversations regionally to get to the ILA that we passed. My perception is there'd been kind of staff to staff work on that maybe it's a good opportunity to get the kind of elected table back together that Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Waldrop were working on and kind of check in on how is it going, implementing that ILA. And there may be some ideas in here that could be good to talk about in that context, particularly as you mentioned, the connection between those various pieces of the system, housing and treatment. When deputies or when outreach workers are out on the street and find someone who is in need of help, how are they all kind of using a coordinated approach to get that person to the appropriate place? Because as you mentioned, sometimes it is housing, sometimes it is treatment, sometimes it is the hospital, sometimes it might be crisis stabilization, sometimes it might be jail. And so I just don't think I'm concerned a one size fits all approach. It might need to look more at the specific circumstances of what the need is. But I feel like the ILA that we have that provides for data sharing and some level of coordination and dialogue is probably a good place for the conversation to go to see if some of these ideas could be implementable currently. So that's just a thought to kind of get that table restarted at the elected level.
I thought the ILA that we signed with the valley and the city kind of still left autonomy for each of the jurisdictions to do what they felt was best for their jurisdiction. I don't think there was any, it was definitely communication, data sharing, but still left all funding decisions and operational decisions to the individual jurisdictions. I don't think this would go against that by any means. It gives any jurisdiction still the ability to move forward in the direction they feel is best for their.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that it does, but it did also commit to regular dialogue and meetings. And so that's why I'm saying that this would be a a good opportunity to have those at a higher level.
Well, and one thing we could consider is, because I think from my perspective, it's like a both and, the treatment and the housing. And I think where it falls down is where there's permanent supportive housing that you're referring to that is not providing the services, social workers, the treatment, the medical care. If it's just an apartment with none of those things, it's not permanent supportive housing. So something we could consider is, when we're contributing those dollars to different organizations, when we're entering into contracts with them, that we are checking to make sure that they do have all of those supports for people who are chronically, the folks we're talking about are really the chronically homeless individuals who've been in and out. But yeah, the ILA, I think, just spoke to like the general objectives of the COC 5-year plan, which I believe is still current, right? So I don't know what's going on with the executive order. I think there's some legal things going on in the courts. I guess I'm not up to speed on it, but for now, I think the idea of getting people housed and getting them supported
Getting them better.
is what the goal is. So I think we're kind of all on the same page, that the challenge is where that maybe we need to invest more in that part of the piece, making sure the treatment is connected to people directly rather than indirectly or not at all. So, those are just some of my thoughts.
If you get any arguments from us.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're arguing in support of us signing this.
No, because I still think housing is a critical component.
Okay.
Well,
And if you don't start there with someone who's been chronically homeless, I mean, our ILA, I think, talked about prioritizing people who have the greatest need and getting them into housing as soon as possible. So that's where I'm still at. And I'm not, if we want to look at, is that working? I would like to know more. I would like some data from the city who runs the, COC. How are we doing? And that's where, I was talking to you, Commissioner Kearns, last year, like we should really need to revisit the data and understand we've been making a lot of investments. So what are the numbers telling us? Are we actually keeping people in housing? Are we getting people into treatment? Hopefully with more sobering beds and all these other resources that we're putting out there, that will make it more, we can accomplish more. Because I mean, as of 2 years ago, there was 0 sobering beds except for in the crisis center, which were not accessible to everyone. So we've come a long way, and we need to do more to create more treatment options. So I'm all for that. I'm not ready to give up on the getting people into housing as soon as possible.
I don't know that there's anything in that document that says you need to give up on housing as soon as possible. That was not the intent. That was not at all, and we all recognize that, you all have to expend funds on housing. And I don't know that I would ever say that you're spending dollars in the wrong place. We just believe that for the best outcomes for the community, at large as a whole, we need, and you all have done a fantastic job of focusing on treatment. I don't want to be to give you the idea that you're not. I think you guys are doing things that many other jurisdictions are not. But please more, but please more.
I know George is back there, so he's taking notes.
Justin's online too.
Oh, it's,
You guys, anything? Yeah, Justin Johnson.
okay. Justin, do you want to add to the comments?
I think the overview and the discussion has been really great. I think this is a conversation nationally that has been occurring for some time. The juxtaposition between treatment versus housing first. I want to be clear on that. Generally, the housing first and treatment first models are predominantly within the addressing homelessness. Behavioral health and behavioral treatment has always taken a treatment first approach where a established treatment plan and goal for recovery is incorporated as part of the treatment process and is a necessity for payment of services. I think there can be and there should be a greater emphasis on those housing models where they incorporate comprehensive programs. And there are a lot of great ones out there. Our Phoenix program incorporates that. I do think, as in most things, a middle ground approach is always the best. There are areas where rapid deployment of housing is absolutely necessary if you are trying to address a key component, which is getting individuals off the street and resolving an immediate or acute problem. Long term, though, to what has been shared, outcomes, especially when they're coupled with comprehensive programs that have accountability, are more effective for recovery and demonstrating that individuals have and can go into becoming productive members without the challenges associated with drug and alcohol and or acute symptomology of behavioral health conditions because they have wraparound care. So as we look at does the treatment first model, and I did review the MOU, I don't think it excludes language for the housing model, but I do think as a region, we do need to focus more clearly on incorporating that treatment component into the housing component. We just haven't been doing a really good job of the integration. And that's just unfortunate for the type of housing dollars are always a little bit separate than behavioral health. And it's something I am working with some of the housing ones to say, the money's available. You can incorporate that. So just as the MOU, it does fit in alignment with treatment. I don't think there's anything there that excludes the possibility of housing, but I defer to the board in terms of their focus on overall approach to the MOU and housing. I do think what the sheriff has shared is critical. And I think we've seen that in our community. Our focus on ensuring that integration of behavioral health treatment has demonstrated effectiveness and has been desperately needed, which has not been there before. So I think our continued focus, at least on the county side, in terms of the ASO, has demonstrated success, and our long-term plan to continue to incorporate that demonstrates in alignment with the goals or the intent of the MOU. So in that way, I am supportive of that approach.
I just really appreciate the dialogue and the consideration of the commissioners, everyone that's really worked on pulling this MOU together. Tough to disagree with a lot of stuff that's in here. I think there's also at the county level, our funding from the federal government is very minimal. Our funding comes through the Emergency Solutions Grant, which is about $145,000 a year. So our federal responsibilities are not nearly as significant, certainly as the city of Spokane, who administers the continuing care grant program over there. So there are some nuances with state funding that are worth consideration in addition to this, where there's just some requirements that we have to follow with that funding, but I think we can certainly support into the Senate.
Well, I know we don't have to make a final decision today. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to look at it and read through it. But I appreciate it because I think it's important for us to just say that we do agree to those things. I mean, I think we've already been doing it in practice. So I don't, I'm going to be okay. With it. So, but I want to make sure everyone has a chance to read through it, understand it, and then so I'm looking, this is the first presentation. We may have another for be able to put out there for research. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Sheriff, can you report back to us after you present to the Valley on how that goes?
Yeah, I'm just having a conversation with John Holman. I know.
I'm sorry. I thought you were presenting in front of their board.
No, I know Chud's been having conversations with Mayor Patton and things, so I think when we get a chance to present to them, Chud will be the person who is running point on that. I mean, from my perspective, this was something really brought forward by citizens, not elected officials, and so I like to see them be the face of it and the voice of it. We're certainly here to support them.
Call that I have with Councilmember Tellis this afternoon is all about the ILA. And they had that conversation, I guess, at the Finance and Administration Committee meeting yesterday in City Hall. So I'll follow up with you on where that ends up, how that dialogue goes. She's on it.
Okay, and I'll follow up with questions for George. Are you open for follow-ups, George? Absolutely. Because there's some statements in here that I don't know if they're, well, we're kind of in a weird area. I don't know where we are with HUD right now, but maybe you can help me clear it up.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. Okay, Matt, here, way behind on timing. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for your patience. George, you're gonna stay, so.
Morning, commissioners. Here today to talk to you about radios for Public Works. We're primarily the maintenance group, but also our construction inspection group. Next slide, please. So, obviously we use our radios for a lot of different things, winter operations being the current one, but also our road maintenance work in general. Preservation crews use them extensively, as do the flaggers. Our construction management group also uses them pretty heavily during the construction season. Our current system, we actually inherited from the Sheriff's Department 20+ years ago. It was at the end of its useful life when we got them. So we are long overdue for a radio upgrade. And currently we have a lot of dead spots. We have areas where there's no reception, which obviously creates safety concerns for our operators, people driving and working out in those areas. Slide. So there's some challenges with the licensing. We've been working through those. We were originally looking at VHF frequencies, but those are very far out. To get those is a year and a half optimistically. We got into that a little more and we found out we could use UHF, just a different frequency, and those can be available much quicker. So we're switching to UHF. They have great coverage, easy licensing. This is a one-time cost with an opportunity to expand. We like that flexibility. Next slide, we'll get into the coverage maps. There's two of them. This is the North County. The red is our portable, that would be the handheld radios. The orange, which obviously is bigger, broader in terms of coverage, is the vehicle mounted ones. For obvious reasons, those have a power supply through the vehicle, so they're stronger and have better antennas. You can see we got pretty good coverage there. There are some spots, up in the mountains, basically in the northeast corner and a little bit down south. The next slide is more focused on the south part of the county. And you can see the orange area being the vehicle mounted ones. We have pretty good coverage. And there's a couple different things we can do to expand that to the handhelds. They have basically an option where you can have something in the vehicle that uses your handheld, uses the antenna in the vehicle nearby. You have to stay close to a vehicle. Important for flaggers talking to material deliveries and different things, just kind of keep everything coordinated. And for flaggers that are very far away and have terrain between them, we need them safe and be able to talk to each other. That also allows for that. Next slide. Here's the equipment breakdown. We've been working with Day Wireless. And you can see there we have a lot of them because we have a lot of equipment and a lot of operators. We have 156 truck. It says truck, this is equipment. So these are also in graders and other types of equipment, primarily in trucks though. 150 mounted in equipment, 45 that are handheld. That gives us kind of the flexibility we need when we have our crews going. That's mainly focused in the summertime and give everybody the equipment they need. We're initially proposing 3 towers, Krell, Scoop Mountain, which is actually Stevens County, kind of northwest, and Mount Spokane. We have the ability to add additional towers if that south coverage isn't working for us. We'll look at that and kind of adjust as we go forward. The equipment cost, you can see there at the bottom, is $466,000. There's also licensing, engineering, and other things that add another 81. Sales tax included, we're at 577. Next slide, please. So the real advantage is using the UHF, we can get moving quicker. The radio should be available in 60 to 90 days. This contract includes the installation and the equipment, which is good. Our guys are busy doing what we need to be doing. And we should be going on the spring, kind of midsummer. They'll get the towers, the equipment put on the towers. That will be our radio shop working with them. It'll be long-term maintained by our radio group, which is a pretty big advantage for us. We like to keep our own folks busy and also saves quite a bit of money in the long term. Originally, we were looking at a contract that had $70,000 per year of ongoing costs. And I mean, you can imagine over 10 years, that's $700,000. So we're very happy with this setup because it allows us to continue to use our towers and our radio shop, which will significantly reduce those costs. So you can see here, radios are the one-time cost. We are kind of exploring an opportunity to partner with the city of Spokane. They haven't fully committed to that yet. We'll continue to have those dialogues and see if there's some ability to offset some of the equipment costs and the ongoing maintenance costs for towers. With that,
Just want to add one highlight on this that was a really cool value add that they offered to us is so they have an extensive tower network. So we looked at using their third-party towers. That was at $70,000 of their ongoing. We'd still have an upfront several $100,000 investment. However, when we sign this now, because we have to wait till snow melts to get the tower equipment up and running, it'll probably be in the summer. They're going to allow us on their tower network at no cost until our equipment is on the tower. So we get usage immediately and we kind of have a test environment. We can have them turn on and off towers to mimic what ours will look like, and we can really get a good idea of what we're doing. So, you know, probably up to 6 months usage of their network at no additional charge, which is a really big benefit. We can be up and running and safely as soon as the crews get everything installed.
Yeah, that was a really great stroke by them. It allows us to test drive, to Kyle's point. We can see what the coverage actually feels like with the towers that we're going to be upgrading, and then get a sense of whether that's going to be adequate or not before we even get into the tower upgrades ourselves.
I think the obvious question with cell phones and all of that these days, if the radios are still needed versus switching to cell phones.
Yeah, currently the crews use both. You know, it's a lot of the maintenance folks do not have county issued cell phones. A lot of them are comfortable with us calling their numbers if we need something. And that's just person by person right now. So the radios are kind of the default of what we give them to do the work they need to do during actual, I mean, when you need to have multiple people hearing the same conversation, obviously, that's when radios really shine. And that's our flagging and our summer operations for chip seal and overlay and crack sealing that we need those radios. Same with construction. It's really when you need multiple people always be hearing the same thing in that readily available aspect that you get with radios that you don't get quite as much with cell phones. And to your point, I also asked him about satellites. I think most people know satellites built into most cell phones these days. That seems to be coming, but nobody has a sense of when, because we don't, you know, we were concerned about overcommitting to equipment when something could be changing, but that horizon appears far enough away that, you know, we need to do something now, and this will get us a long ways down the road. This is current equipment. These Motorola's are new instead of inherited. So we anticipate the service life will get us to whatever is next. That's probably a 10 to 20 year horizon.
And this was in your budget.
Yeah, we had 600,000 budget.
It looked like it. 570.
Was it in here, expected life span of these radios?
20 years would be realistic.
Really? They'll last that long?
I mean,
For the truck ones, you might not get that out of the handhelds.
Okay.
Yeah, and you might replace batteries, and there'll be some work done on it, but the equipment itself, I think the manufacturer would tell you 10 years, but we get much longer life out of them. And this is, so our radio shop is a Motorola shop as well, and so we have mic equipment, it's all Motorola equipment, so they can work on it for the last hours. Keep us alive. Thank you for your time. Check on my co-pilot.
There we go.
Well, commissioners, we're here today to share some exciting news on a grant application as well as a project that received some funding. So Brittany has been working on both of these and she's here to present.
Yeah, so I think we'll start with the CHIP. I think that was first on the agenda. So that's the Connecting Housing to Infrastructure Program. We applied in September of 25 in partnership with the Chalice Place project, which is Spokane Housing Authority's project. If you don't know where that's at, it's North Wall Street, 8415 North Wall Street, Spokane, Washington, 99208, if you're gonna look it up. So that one project is 85 units, disabled and elderly population below 50% AMI. They're applying to a bunch of different funding, but they specifically got awarded this CHIP application and the Housing Trust Fund from Commerce. And I think it's just over 7 million that they already have awarded. So the CHIP application is in partnership with us, but it's for their project. It's kind of a weird thing of how we had to apply. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all,
Just
but
a nuance with the
Yeah.
state funds where it had to come through either a city or county, so we ended up being the one that pushed submit, but it was ultimately their application.
Right, they're speaking the housing.
Yes, yes.
and so
The news had a little blurb about this last night about the
Yeah,
project.
I think all of the news stations carried it yesterday.
And so that was the $980,550 that was requested and awarded through that CHIP application itself. And we got that award notification January 15th of this year. So just wanted to share that with y'all, kind of bring that to your attention. If you have any questions or concerns, answer those, or feel free to reach out if you do.
And we'll have a contract in time that will come to us from the Department of Commerce, so that'll be on a future legislative agenda for approval and signature.
This is the project that it's a senior low income housing project, right? That they're looking to purchase land from a church up there at Country Homes and Wall, right?
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
did that zoning change. We allowed for that comp plan change, I think, a couple of years ago to allow it to be I don't know, something that allowed them to have that land for sale for multifamily housing.
Yeah, and it was a great partnership with the Housing Authority where they were able to subdivide that land. So the Housing Authority owns that land for the development itself.
And I met with them last year. There is a little bit of a challenge with the water infrastructure. And so I got them in touch with, our public works staff to see if there were any projects that we were doing in that area in the near future. So they didn't have to pay for the whole digging into the street to be able to upgrade the water. Because the water lines in that area were really only developed for single family homes, not this multifamily project. So hopefully that can all get resolved in the timely manner that they can use these funds.
And that's what these funds are for, is for that water.
It's not actually for the housing itself, it's for the water.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
The 7 million that they got from the Housing Trust Fund is part of the building of the property itself, so.
And I had heard if you really, it was a lot more expensive than this, though.
I think it's just a portion of the funding.
Okay.
That they'll need for it.
I just hate to dig into the street, upgrade the water, and then we come back 2 years later and we are gonna repave or redo the street, anyway, just if there's a partnership opportunity with our public works, that would sure be nice. So I mentioned Matt Zarakor, I got them in touch with him and maybe he can be alerted that they did get this money. It might help with the public works project as well. I mean, they might move up the project.
Say
If
Kyle
this-
is here too.
Oh,
He's
Kyle.
He's still in the room.
Sorry, I
So
was
yeah,
looking for Matt and you're over there. So you, did Matt talk to you about this project?
I haven't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the water line, it's like the end of the line, so it doesn't have enough pressure. So it needs an upgrade. But it will require upgrading the whole line, I think up Wall Street. So I know you guys have plans for some projects there. But maybe they could contribute to some of the street work, you know, and do it at the same time.
Yeah, they'll typically have to cover, depending on the depth of where it is, probably at least a lane, if not 2 lanes wide. We can look at doing the other half at the same time.
So as long as it could be done within the window of when the housing trust funds and everything lines up, but they didn't know this until they. You know, they're like, wow, what a great site, and you know, it's right there, it's near transit, division and commercial, you know, activities. It's walkable, but then they found out that it needs more pressure to serve that area, so. Anyway, that was just a flag for you.
Thanks.
always good not to have to cut the street up more than once.
Yes.
So,
And getting a uniform service, so they won't be required to do the whole thing,
Right.
so.
yeah, so. Okay,
Are there more questions on the CHIP award? Right, yeah. So on other news, if you recall the home electrification and appliance rebates program, that's the year program that I've come to you for different things. So that's the one that in 2024, we got the award and subcontracted with SNAP, and that was just over 1.7 million. And so now we're looking at the new application for the 2025 to 2027 funding award. And so we're looking to apply for $3 million this time. So we're looking to kind of up that. We had a large demand, especially with the SNAP partnership. There was a lot of outreach, and so that was great to see so many people that wanted to participate in this program. And so we're hoping that we can show that to Commerce and ask for a little bit more money this time. So that one is a 4/1/26 to 6/30/27 period of performance. That's the LMI households and small businesses that would be served with those upgrades, those rebates and incentives through Commerce. And the plan is again to subcontract that money with SNAP if we are awarded funding. We did come to you prior, I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but you guys already approved that award pending our funding from Commerce. And so today we're just asking for your approval and your support to submit the application for that year 2025 program.
And that grant application is due
That's-
to Commerce
yeah.
on.
February 5th, sorry. So the plan is to submit by the end of the week if everyone approves and if I can get everything kind of buttoned up.
And Brittany's done an excellent job of working with SNAP as a kind of a co-applicant in this, so it's a really good application.
Do you think they're gonna have more funds to send our way, or how does that get distributed?
So they have kind of a couple different tracks. So they have track 1, which is what we're applying to. So that is kind of your jurisdictions. They have a separate set aside for tribal governments. And then they also have a separate set aside for adult family homes. So this track 1 is specifically, looks like about 24 million available. And that is LMI households, small businesses, looking at jurisdictions like Spokane County or cities. I think Airway Heights is also planning to apply for their own funding, which they did get last year a little bit as well. So I could see there being possibly double funding there, and you can just work with SNAP and Airway Heights to make sure there's no duplicate benefits there. But yeah, it looks like there's funding available, and I'm pretty confident with how our program did go this last year that we have a strong application. That $3 million is great. Well, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna take us to miscellaneous. I have a few SCC meetings scheduled, so.
I didn't know what that was.
I don't know what that is.
Is that about like
Like the one you wanted me to give Gina heads up about the Monday, whether
Oh,
the
yeah.
first, third, second, fourth.
We're just-
Consistency. was the-
yeah. We are not consistent the whole year on the Mondays. And so I think we just need to, with holidays, we kind of were jumping around. We had not had Monday morning meetings because we had agenda items. Now that we're the first of the year it's a little slower. But so I think we just need to figure out if we're going to be flexible on Mondays or just switch it to the, right, because right now it's the first and third Mondays.
Unless there's a holiday that moved it.
So we move it, and so it's like, so we've just been really consistent on it, so I think next week, I don't know that. You know, because then we've got.
But we did set a calendar for the year, right?
Yes, but it's been.
So I've been using that to base what we're doing off of. Like if I,
I just have it on my desk.
Because we're gonna have President's Day the 16th. So that would be the third Monday. So of February. So would we want to just do the 9th and the 23rd?
We're already scheduled for the 23rd.
we
But
could
not
switch
for
to the 9th.
9th,
Yeah, we
not
could
for the
switch.
16th.
Because you're on the second, goes
scheduled
the
for the
first.
second.
Yeah,
And then the 16th was the holiday, so you're scheduled for the 23rd. But then you're scheduled for the second again in March because it's the first.
yeah, so that's 2 weeks. So yeah, it just.
And I think you did the 30th on March because we did a change in April. The first full week of April as a Monday is the school district holiday for spring break.
Yeah, we're
So
on.
you can move that back to the 30th in March to make up for the first one.
I don't have a meeting the 30th of March. At least on my calendar. I didn't get it.
All right, that's a different meeting. We move forward to the 13th and 27th.
It just seemed like it was getting confusing. When Josh and I were talking about it, so. So I don't know, so it just was one of those. I think we've always had January and February just hard with the holidays.
In April with the break and then
Yeah.
sometimes the GSI fly-ins, you have a travel day on a Monday to DC.
Yeah. So I think once we get.
What if we move the 16th to the 20th? Well, it's just kind of, yeah. We have like a couple weeks where we meet and then we don't meet for like 3 or 4 weeks, right, on a Monday. Is that what you're getting at the end of March?
Between the 16th of March and the 13th of April, because the 6th of April is Spokane Public School spring break.
I think for March, you guys opted just to have one strategic planning that for that month. We talked about different ones and then we changed it just to do the one.
I'm out on the 16th too. So I probably won't be here. No, of March. Sorry. I guess it's the same calendar for February and March, the exact same days. I don't know.
So if we do change to the second and fourth, Matt, would we have to update our county code to reflect the
Unless we just canceled something.
Yeah.
Is there a date? Is there a date that work for people that we just want to look at canceling a meeting? Would that make it easier? Or is there something we want moved? Because we actually have something to discuss.
I think the second. I don't know.
What month you talking about?
Well, let's just talk about February
Okay.
next Monday.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what we
Are there
have.
any agenda items for
At
Monday?
that time, we don't have any schedule.
Should we just cancel this meeting Monday?
Cancel Monday the 2nd.
Generally,
Do you still want me to have one for the 9th, or do you want to?
Well, no, I think that's what we're saying is then we would just
Should we just?
not have one on the 9th. We're not gonna have one on the 16th.
We're going to the 23rd and the 16th is President's Day.
But again,
Well,
Mondays are for long-term planning. It's not for something that needs immediately voted on the following week.
Most of this budget, we're not planning on doing anything until in the first quarter.
So yes, so it's just if everyone's good with canceling Monday the 2nd, we would not have another Monday meeting until the 23rd.
That's fine.
But if there's an emergency, we're meeting the 3rd, the very next day. So.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
cancel the second.
So we will cancel next Monday the 2nd.
Gina, you'll do a calendar cancellation. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to, if we don't have items, and I was fine with canceling yesterday, that's fine. If we don't have items, we got other things to do.
Some of it I don't know until, but it just seemed like let's with it's Monday, just figure it out, make a decision. So, okay. We will cancel next Monday and leave everything else.
I have another miscellaneous.
Okay, very
I
good.
just wanted to give a short update on Safe and Healthy Task Force. I spoke with Emily Cameron. We're trying to nail down a date when the conveners of that group could come to the board and brief everybody as to the status. And the date she gave me was February 17th. So I think Brenda had been communicating with her about getting that on the agenda. So just wanted to share that she'll be coming. They are trying to get around to the city and the valley and the county on a somewhat regular basis throughout the year to provide updates as that goes on. So that'll be good. And then I just wanted to update the board when the sheriff and Emily and Commissioner Cuny and I initially came to present the idea of the task force. There was several parts to it. One is the task force, which is community driven. Another was to initiate kind of a dialogue between the jurisdictions on plan for jails, facilities going forward, because it's kind of the whole effort is thought of as a programs, system, and facilities framework. So like to get that going. Commissioner Cuny and I had an initial meeting with the city. Valley wasn't able to make it, but the planning team for the task force would like to see that really ramp up. And so I've reached out to the sheriff and Councilmember Cathcart as well to see if they'd like to be included in that discussion going forward, which they will. So I just want to update the board about that. I envision that being fairly regular meetings. The idea is just to kind of have an initial dialogue, develop options, framework around jail facilities and potentially treatment if that's part of the package as well. Obviously, any decisions around that come to this body for discussion, ballot measures, jail plans, but I think it's important, and the planning team and task force does, to at least start dialogue around related jurisdiction to jurisdiction, because in Whatcom County's process, they were successful in part because they had that piece figured out jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So if the board wants updates on that, has questions, happy to chat with any of you. I'm sure we'll be back for updates. I just wanted to share that with the group. And it would include the mayor of the valley as well as John Holman Valley.
Yeah, and the first one was just us trying to figure out what it's going to.
Who's on first base.
And trying to get, what had been done in the past, so we can bring that forward with the budget. I mean, with the cities now doing their 1%, was that due and change? And there is gonna be on the task force, there's a facility subcommittee that will be diving deeper. We're just trying to get the general information together so that subcommittee can look at it. And, provide some additional feedback. Location keeps coming up as a topic, and so we wanted to show where we were on the location. We've said if anyone has any ideas and who's paying for it.
Continuously, I've gone back to 2008, listed out all the iterations, all the changes. Now I'm doing on the land side of it. Include as well the analysis, the needs assessments on that leading up to the program. So that we have it all in one composed.
We're just after this first meeting. The first meeting was just like, what do we need to even start to think about, and how do we get it all together? And so that's all the meeting was just trying to get the information.
And can I just add that Mayor Patton and John Holman were invited to that. It just happened, and they had RSVP'd yes, and it just so happened to fall on her first day as mayor being sworn in, and she just forgot. So she apologized. She's very committed. I think she's gonna be a really positive voice in this. So I spent about a half hour on the phone with her, just kind of giving her the full update of everything that was very preliminarily talked about. I'm gonna do the same with Councilmember Cathcart later this week, because I'm happy to have him involved too, so. And then, of course, any real decisions, of course, come back here for discussion. It's really fleshing out options, getting dialogue going.
So it's no different than what Mike did ahead of the last ballot measure. I mean, what the options, what the cost would be. I know different people in the construction industry have reached out wanting to be on the facilities committee, so I think they'll be able to give us better what cost estimates, are, but we're gonna be in a different situation with most cities doing their 1%. So it's not gonna be the same amount of money. And so that's part of what we've got to look at and figure out as realistically. Talking about, like in Whatcom County, they all talked about pooling all our funds for the first 5 years up front to keep the jail costs down. We're gonna have a meeting, we're looking at having a meeting with Whatcom County to see how has that gone now that they've passed the ballot measure and because our jail was not, designed at that point. It was very preliminary. How is it looking now with the design and how is their funding looking at? So trying to do some of the homework to figure out where we need to be, but it's like, so it's really just trying to get the homework done to come back to everybody.
Mike, what committee are you on?
I'm on two.
Which ones?
I'm on the subcommittee for jail and
Okay, so what is so I talked to Lance Beck the other day and he sent me a list of the facilities committee. Is the facilities committee different than the jail committee?
yes, it is. They're the facilities.
Well, this is a huge list he sent me. I mean, this has
It's the
this has
facility.
29 names.
Yes, that's the facility subcommittee.
Okay, should Mike be on that?
He
is.
Oh, cause your name's not on the list that Lance sent me at this. Which concerned me. I wanted to make sure I talked to Mike today. Mike, you need to be on this one.
Gotta go on that list.
So the facilities committee is the jail committee.
Right,
That-
the facilities is the building itself.
Okay,
And then
Will it also be considering other types of facilities, like mental
we're
health?
talking about
Or,
diversion programs, we're talking about on the courts and, what tools are available to the courts for due releases and availability of those.
it's a long
Preliminary
list of
just
names,
started
but he's not
on
on.
those conversations. And so on that was Chuck
That
Windows on that,
Stood out to me.
along with Judge Hazel and one of the first names escapes.
Judge Hazel.
No, Brian Beggs is.
no, I was just wondering for
This list I have, no, Judge Hazel's not on here. It's the Superior Court judge on here is Brian Beggs.
No, it's Judge Hazel.
Okay, so,
So we need to update, we just need to circle back and update the list.
okay.
Yeah, and for clarity, there's lots of different committees, teams and groups, so it's complicated. Because it involves a lot of people. I think what you're seeing on the website is the kind of task force committee, right? Subcommittee looking at facilities, jail, treatment. So we should have someone from Mike or Hooper, or somebody on that committee. What I'm talking about is a separate jurisdiction to jurisdiction dialogue, and I think so there's two conversations, and I think that what I expect is the task force will give us kind of big picture recommendations, but we as the jurisdictions also have to have a more nuts to bolts dialogue about the details of cost sharing, location, design. There's a lot of kind of specifics that we need to really get into more directly. That's a bit more of a needs recommendation is how I anticipate it going. But we'll check with Lance about the updated piece of that. Judge
I'll show you this
Yeah.
list after.
And then within the task force, Judge Beggs is not on the task force. He's part of a subcommittee is my understanding. So the task force is ultimately what's going to vote on recommendations, and Judge Hazel is the Supreme Court representative on that. The subcommittees were designed to feed recommendations up to the task force, which would make a final, vote or decision on that. And the subcommittee members can be other folks with particular expertise. So you'll probably see a lot more names on the subcommittees. those, I believe, are invited by the business conveners and Empire Health Foundation. So anyway, that's just a little bit of background for that.
But so if someone from the community asked me, what is the facilities committee focused on? Is it any and all facilities, or is it just anything related to the detention facility?
Does it provide a description on the website?
No, this is not the website. Lance sent me an Excel sheet. It's labeled draft member list advisory committee D, and then in parentheses, it says facilities.
I believe somewhere, but should be on the website, they have some kind of like a charter or a description for each of the subcommittees. So check there, but my understanding is it should be detention facilities and treatment. If there's like a treatment facility gap that we have in the community, that should be talked about. But
Okay, I was just-
absolutely, it
so I
should
can let
include
folks know.
detention
Yeah.
as well.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And there's a variety of ways that we can provide different types of facilities for different purposes. So just, so they're looking at the gamut.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
It follows close. The Sims model, like the intercept, so that's how it's kind of follow that line together, good idea, yeah.
And when Emily comes, that's a good opportunity. I think she's trying to bring Alicia, Lance, and all the convening group. As many of them can come, so that's a good time to kind of dig into some of the stuff too.
It is listed out on their website, who the subcommittees are and who the leaders of those subcommittees are.
Keep you posted.
It's confusing.
It's gonna be a busy year if all goes well.
You still gonna hit is it May 1st? Was that the
That's
last
the
deadline,
current-
or first half of May at least?
May.
That's
Let's just say
Are
May.
you gonna hit the month of May? You gonna be able to do that still?
That is plan A.
We may.
We may.
It's
May hit
gonna
May.
be May.
It's an ambitious timeline. We'll see.
All right.
Okay.
I have some from communications with you.
So Ron forwarded me an email from the MAC, because we're sponsors of their current exhibit. We get the employee night. So they threw out a couple of dates. I don't know if everybody wants to pull their calendars out, if we can kind of narrow it down for them. Because these are open nights for the employee night at the MAC. March 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Those are all open. March 10th is also open that evening, and these are all in the evening. Usually the way we do it is we have like a 5 o'clock arrival time, or 5 or 5:30, and then a 6 or 6:30 arrival time. So kind of do them in groups, so not everybody shows up at the same time, everybody shoulder to shoulder. So we kind of space out arrival times. But yeah, so March 3rd, 4th, or 5th are open. March 10th. April 1st or 2nd. April 14th or 15th. Or April 21st and 23rd.
21st, 23rd, the GSI flying.
Okay, so we'll cancel that one. So, but all of those other dates, those are open. What works for, I mean, does anybody see any glaring problems with any of those dates that we should avoid? And if there's one that we all think would work great, let's send it back to the MAC now and lock that date in, if anybody likes them.
First week of March, would not work.
Okay, 3rd and 5th is out. What about the 10th? 10th is fine?
10th is fine. Yeah.
What day of the week?
So it would be,
Tuesday, okay.
so we're basically picking 1 or 2?
One.
Okay.
One, and then there'll be 2 times in that evening for folks to sign up for to arrive.
Usually like a 5 o'clock and a 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how long that Lego display goes?
I think it goes into I want to say like June. I think it's like it's almost like half the year. It's that usually their exhibits run about 6 months, so.
The 10th is okay for me.
Okay.
11th is not.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to make the 10th, but
Okay.
What was your next option?
So, so March 10th, April 1st or 2nd.
It's a Wednesday, Thursday.
April 1st would be fine.
What week is spring break this year?
School.
The following week, or the spring break.
Yeah, either of those days are fine for me.
First would probably be better.
Okay, do we want April 1st?
April Fools, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Should I send that back?
Yeah, and that's a Wednesday night.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, I am gonna reply to Ron and say April 1st.
I will coordinate with Ron and we'll get the all employee email out and all that stuff.
Just know my door will swing.
Yeah, I wanna see
I
the
Lego
Legos.
girl.
That looks so cool.
Lego.
I know.
The coverage was really
It
good when
looks
they,
really great.
when they opened it.
Yeah.
It was cool how they were highlighting all the different artists that created the different Lego structures.
Oh, I have.
I know we're running late, so I'll just be quick. A couple, just for your awareness, we had proclamations sent out last week for the ballots for various school districts to be distributed. They should have all the ballots by the end of the week. We also have one more going out today, if it's not been circulated already, for scraps. They have passed their quarantine, so adult dogs are now available for adoption. Martha Liu worked with Doug Chase on a crime story about the trees being removed in front of Liberty Lake Golf Course. And then we also assisted the prosecutor's office with their color of justice, and we've received some great feedback on our social media for that.
Okay. Thank you. We've got lots to do before noon.
We have 3 executive session items I was hoping to take care of this morning. I'm not sure if we want to try to be really efficient or bump one to the afternoon. We have another one this afternoon as well. Just scheduling some of the attendees is a challenge. Does Madam Chair have a preference on trying to squeeze them in this morning? What, is it a?
Have 20 minutes. Or no, we have till noon, right?
Yeah, till noon, we've got to start. interviews at noon. So,
Yeah, we have to be on, ready to start interviews, so like 11:55.
Probably 2.
Let's do 2 then this morning and we'll move third one this afternoon. The first one is pending and potential litigation, 30 minutes. No action is anticipated at the end of it. Matt Folsom, Jeff McMorris, Devin Kurta, Wes Gow, Ashley Cloud, Josh Rowe, Tim Donovan, and Vicky Dalton. The second one is a closed labor session. Again, no action is at the end of it, approximately 20 minutes. Matt Folsom, Jeff McMorris, Devin Kurta, Ashley Cloud, Josh Rowe. That's it. No action.
So we're gonna go into executive session, 2 executive sessions for the reasons just stated. No actions anticipated, so at the end of that executive sessions, we will adjourn for the morning and see everybody back at the 2 o'clock. Thank you.